think we're going to go ahead and get started, and just feel free if you need a copy of the ones that ran out. When you see them, bring them up here. Either come get a copy or you can get a copy at the end of the presentation too. So I wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight. There is a lot of you here, so that's always great to see. We are going to cover kind of a lot of material today. We're going to talk about STEP, AP, and PSEO. We're going to start with talking about STEP High School. So STEP High School is classes that are offered actually through the Anoka-Hennepin School District. Students take those classes at the STEP High School, and then they are part of the Anoka-Hennepin School District for that time period. They offer classes like technical education, so more of the hands-on classes, culinary, automotive, those types of classes. Medical, they offer a lot, and we'll see exactly what here in a couple minutes. And then they are located just off of Highway 10. So as you can see by the map, it's literally just a hop, skip, and jump down the road, very close to PACT, which makes it a great partnership. So like I said before, students go to the STEP campus to take a class there in the morning, and then they come back to PACT, and they finish their day out here. STEP offers a lot of different courses. These are just some of them. And if you were lucky enough to get a green STEP booklet, it goes over all of the classes that they do offer. That booklet comes directly from STEP, so we have more ordered from them, but their registration has not opened yet, so we are still waiting. So they offer classes in these, and then these are some more. So the prerequisite for STEP is a little bit different than what a lot of people think. For STEP, you have to be on track for graduation, but you do not have to have a certain GPA or class rank for STEP. So any junior or senior who is on track for graduation is free to participate in the STEP program. If you are interested in attending STEP or registering for STEP, you would just need to see me and we can start the process. All right, like I said earlier, students who attend STEP through the PACT school are actually duly enrolled with the Anoka-Hennepin School District. They go there for the morning class and then they come back here. And students who are interested in STEP need to commit to taking the program for the entire year. That is because they are on our trimesters and we are on semesters. So our breaks don't line up. And it doesn't work to stop a class halfway through and come back or leave. All right, so only morning classes are available, and I already covered it. Anoka-Hennepin is on trimesters. So this is what it would look like if you were to participate in STEP. They would go directly to the STEP High School. Their classes start approximately at 7:55. They would spend the class time there until about 9:50, and then they would be expected to be back here by the 10:18 class period. They would attend class, eat lunch here. They could ride the bus home from PACT, and a schedule would look something similar to this. One thing to keep in mind as you think about STEP is transportation is not provided by PACT. So, in the morning, if you live in the Anoka-Hennepin School District, you can use their busing to get to STEP. But there is no busing from STEP to PACT. So students would need to be able to provide their own transportation. At the end of the day, when they're done with their PACT classes, they would be able to ride our buses home at that point. All right, so we've already done our registration for this year, but if your student is still interested in it, they can talk to me. If they put STEP registration or STEP as their elective choice on their registration form, then I will come find them when I get the registration information from Anoka-Ramsey or Anoka-Hennepin. Okay, so that paperwork was due February 19th, but if you are still interested and you did not mark it on your registration forms, just come see me. So once registration opens at Anoka-Hennepin, then I will work with you to get your student registered. I had some registration paperwork up here for STEP. That is paperwork that you can fill out and give back to me, and then I will send it on to STEP. And there will be more paperwork which will allow you to choose your STEP classes at that point. But like I said, Anoka-Hennepin is not quite that far in their process yet. All right, so make sure you're watching for more information from me. After we register students, parents are free to contact the Anoka-Hennepin School District just to double check on the student's registration. Because like I said, they are a student of the Anoka-Hennepin School District at that point. All right, so this is one of the forms that was set up here. If you need another copy, I can get you some more of those. This is one page that everybody interested in STEP will need to complete. This will register you as a student with the Anoka-Hennepin School District. So everyone interested in STEP would need to complete this form. There was a second form up here for STEP, and that form is only for students who are not in the Anoka-Hennepin School District. So students would need to open enroll into the Anoka-Hennepin School District, and this is the form that would allow them to do that. So only students who are not part of the Anoka-Hennepin School District would need to do this form. And both of these forms can come back to me, and I would get these sent over to Anoka-Hennepin. All right, so that was pretty quick information about STEP. Covered kind of a lot of it quickly. So are there any questions about STEP?
Is it just one class in the morning, or are there several classes?
So it's just one class in the morning, so it's one each tribe. So 3 total for the year.
Are they able to take a language class over there if they wanted to do that, or no?
To count as a language arts credit? Nope, so they're only able to take elective classes over there, and their core classes would be what they would finish up over here during the rest of the periods. All right, we'll move on to AP, but if you have more questions about STEP in the future, please don't hesitate to either contact me or raise your hand at the end of the presentation. So AP stands for Advanced Placement. It is offered in collaboration with the College Board. These are classes that do allow students to have more rigorous classes in our school without having to leave the building. These classes, if you do well in them and can do well on the end of the course exam, then you have the ability to achieve college credit. Next year, we will be offering AP Lit and Comp and AP Lang and Comp. AP World History is an every other year course, so we offered it this year, but we are not offering it next year. And it will come back again in the 2021 school year. AP Lit and Comp is open to students in grades 10 through 12, and AP Lang and Comp is open to students 9 through 12. All right, so students can receive college credit if they score high enough on the end of course exam. The deadline to sign up for this exam is usually in early November. So students register, start the course in August. They have just a month or two to really feel out how the class is going, and then they are required to sign up for the test at that time. One thing to keep in mind is that many colleges accept AP credit, but some don't. So as you start your college planning process, it would be important to research the colleges that you're interested in to see if this is beneficial. All right, so we are lucky enough to have 2 of our AP teachers here tonight, Ms. Douglas and Ms. Rupert. They're here to talk to you a little bit about the courses they offer. So, Ms. Rupert, you want to start us out?
No, I don't.
All right, Ms. Douglas.
Hello. I am very uncomfortable with microphones, so forgive me if you can't hear me, let me know. Okay, so I'm Ms. Douglas, for those of you who don't know. I teach AP Lit and Comp, which is basically the equivalent of a college literature course. So what we do is we read more advanced books, we take time to analyze them at a collegiate level. I teach them how to write collegiate level papers, because that's an important skill to have before you get to freshman comp and fail, like my dad. So it's a really important skill to have. Whether you take AP Lang or AP Lit, we both teach you how to write and how to write really well. And so it's such a great thing to have. But AP Lit obviously has a literature focus, so it's more about reading books as opposed to analyzing argumentation and that kind of thing. Both classes are challenging. Both classes are going to push you and give you kind of skills you need to succeed at a four-year college level. So if you're planning on getting your bachelor's or beyond, AP is a great place to go to get the skills that will help you survive when you get to that place in your life. Not saying that other classes can't help you get there, but AP teaches you the skills that you need. And I think it's a great opportunity to push our students who maybe could stand to grow a little bit more. So I think it's fun. And it's a great place to develop skills that I can't always do in a regular gen ed language arts class. So I had a video, but I can't play it because it was mostly about my class. But AP Lit is great. So the end. So just like, got it. And I'm Ms. Herbert. I teach AP Lang and Comp, which is AP Language and Composition. Ditto what she said, it aligns to a freshman level composition class. AP Lang is different from AP Lit in that it's more nonfiction texts. A lot of those are shorter nonfiction texts, so we spend a lot of time reading speeches, we read current events articles, we spend a lot of time discussing the rhetoric that's used and how it's effective and why it's effective. And then the AP exam for AP Lang is centered around, can you build an argument and can you do it effectively? So it's a lot about studying how language works, and it's really, really fun. I could talk about it all day, but I won't. So it's a lot more to do with like the technical way that language and composition all kind of like come together to create an effect, and it's really cool. But yeah, like Ms. Douglas said, any of the AP courses will challenge you with your reading, challenge you with your writing, and help really prepare you for that kind of college level reading and writing stuff.
All right, thank you, ladies. One more thing about AP I just wanted to reiterate is that it does offer college credit, but even if you decide not to take the end of course exam and you wouldn't necessarily get that college credit, it still looks really good on your transcript. Colleges will see that you took the course, and they will see the grade that you get in the course, so as long as you do well, it would still be beneficial. And then it also does bump up your GPA a little bit because it's a weighted grade. So even if you don't want to take the end of course exam and try for the college credit, it still is beneficial to take. Okay, any questions about AP? So, yep, nope, there's not really any prerequisites. So it was an option on the registration forms, and students are free to register for it no matter what their situation is. And so if your student wasn't able to register for it, they can always see me if they decide they want to take it.
Do they ever change the courses? Like 3 years from now, there be different classes that are offered, or is it always just those 3?
Well, so college placement offers a whole bunch of different classes. Currently, this is what our teachers are interested in teaching, and it kind of aligns with their field of study. So we could potentially add some, but we may not necessarily get rid of these either. Kind of undecided. Any other questions about AP? All right. So then we will move on to post-secondary enrollment options, so PSEO. And tonight we hope you learn a few facts about PSEO, and that is just general information about the program, understanding the risks and benefits, the eligibility requirements, how our credits transfer to and from PACT, what classes you might need for graduation, what to expect at a college level class, and the admissions process. So this is just the definition of PSEO according to the Minnesota Department of Education. You may also hear of it sometimes called as dual or concurrent enrollment. That all means PSEO for the most part. All right, so there's a lot of you in here I can imagine are thinking about PSEO. How do you know if it's right for you? If you can answer these questions honestly, then you would have a good idea. Are you self-sufficient? If a teacher needs to track you down to hand in your homework, it might not be a great option for you. Are you doing well in your high school classes? And do you want the challenge of more rigorous classes? Do you read and write well? If you're planning to take a class or math class as a PSEO student, have you completed Algebra 2? And are you planning on attending a post-secondary institution once you graduate? So if you said yes to these, then PSEO might be a good option for you. So what are the benefits of going PSEO? One of the benefits is that it offers a large variety of classes. You can take many different kinds of classes as a college student that we can't offer here. For example, glass blowing, right? We can't offer a glass blowing class, but they can, and it's a lot of fun. Their classes are more challenging. The cost of tuition is covered by the state of Minnesota, so that includes tuition fees and textbooks. And then the credits you earn are applied to high school and college degrees. So what are the risks of going PSEO? One of the biggest risks is there's less teacher oversight. So the teacher isn't going to track you down if you are having trouble with homework, or if you aren't turning things in, or if you're missing a bunch of class, okay? The teacher will expect you to be on top of all of that. One of the risks is some of the classes can be more challenging. So, are you ready for that challenge? Are you struggling with the courses that you're already in? There's also no progress checking on Infinite Campus. So as a parent, you wouldn't be able to log in and see how your student is doing on our Infinite Campus system. And then professors do not talk to parents in most cases. Okay, they expect the student to be the one to self-advocate and to take care of their classes, their grades, and their questions. Right? So they expect students to seek out help when they need it, and they don't necessarily talk to parents. Transportation is also not provided for PSEO, so students would be responsible for getting themselves to and from their classes. However, for families whose income are at or below the standard, then there is a subsidy that we can help work with. Okay, so that's for mileage reimbursement if you meet the eligibility requirements for that. All right, so who does PACT let go PSEO? Well, 11th and 12th graders can go if they meet certain requirements. 10th graders also can go, but they have different sets of requirements. So we will look at the 11th and 12th grade students first. And so students can go PSEO for a certain number of years. So if you start PSEO as a senior, you are allowed 1 year of PSEO. If you start PSEO as a junior, you're allowed 2 years of PSEO. And that is just to say, if you are not on track for graduation and you end up having to come back as a senior, you wouldn't necessarily qualify for an extra year of PSEO, okay? And then students must meet the post-secondary institution requirements. So PACT doesn't get to set the requirements for PSEO. Each college sets their own requirements. So they're different depending on which college you're interested in. And then students can enroll full-time or part-time in non-sectarian classes. And as a 10th grader, 10th graders can take one CTE course their first semester, and then they can take more depending on how they do that first semester. They must also meet or exceed their reading MCAs from 8th grade in order to be eligible for this. So 10th grade PSEO is a very limited experience, like I said before. They only get to take one CTE course their first semester, and if they successfully complete that class, then they can take up to 3 the following semester. So which institutions can you go PSEO? Well, it's really a lot. So any of these listed up here. So the University of Minnesota, the technical and community colleges, so even some private colleges offer PSEO. So if you're wondering, there is this Minnesota Department of Education website that you can go to. But really, I would suggest that you just check out their webpage. Okay, so if you're interested in a college, just go to their webpage and see what they say about PSEO. So how do credits transfer to PACT? A 4-credit college class transfers as 1 high school credit. So let's say you're taking a 4-credit English class. That would transfer over as a 1-credit high school course. Okay, it's equal to taking 1 full year of a high school course. We'll kind of come back to that in a minute. All right, so if you're thinking about going PSEO, you need to make sure that you meet graduation requirements, make sure you're on track for graduation, and know what you need to take in order to stay on track for graduation. Make sure that you take the classes and the subjects that you need in order to graduate. For example, Minnesota requires 4 years of language arts. By the time you go PSEO, let's say as a junior, you've had 2 of those completed, so you would need to make sure to complete 2 more. A 3 or 4 college credit class will meet a 1 credit requirement in the subject area. So for example, college writing and critical thinking is a 4-credit class. That equals 1 high school credit, and it satisfies 1 credit of language arts here at PACT. Intro to Literature is a 3-credit college class, and it transfers over as a 0.75 credit for high school. However, we consider that meeting the 1 requirement for language arts towards graduation. So that extra 0.25 deficit would be made up through electives, but you wouldn't need to take another language arts class to satisfy your language arts credit. In order to do PSEO, you must have an open period during the day at PACT. That means you cannot take a full 7-credit load here at PACT and go PSEO. However, you only need 1 open period. So that means that you could take potentially 6 periods of the day here and then college credit classes on top of that. Okay? If you are a full-time PSEO student, that means that you take all of your classes at the post-secondary institution. You do not take any here at PACT. Most colleges consider 12 credits to be considered full-time. A part-time PSEO student would take some classes at the college and some classes here at PACT. And that schedule can be worked out with me and your college. Make sure that you're taking enough courses to stay on track for graduation. And then you are always welcome to come back for any activities, clubs, or sports. All right, again, know your high school graduation requirements before registering for your college classes, okay? They have deadlines and they aren't flexible on their deadlines. If you decide a month and a half down the road that you really should have taken a language arts class, well, guess what? They're not going to work with you, okay? So know what you need before you register and before those deadlines come. So the high schools get to choose which classes we accept as credit, not the college advisors or academic advisors, okay? So that's where this page will come in handy. If you haven't gotten one, there's some more up here now. Thank you for making copies. This is a document that tells you which classes we accept as credit. So if you have it, you will see the first page here in the Field of Study Department column says English. These are the classes that we will accept as an English language arts credit, okay? So for example, let's say I decided to go to Anoka Ramsey Community College. I would need to use this document, find Anoka Ramsey Community College and the English Language Arts, and find the classes that equal high school language arts credits, okay? So this is going to help you stay on track for graduation. It's not just for English language arts, there's stuff in here for government, for world history, for whatever other classes that you would need, okay? The only thing that is not in this packet is electives. So PACT will accept anything, any college class as an elective class. Those do not need to be chosen from here. These are just for the specific core classes. Okay, everything else can just count as an elective. If they let you take it, we will accept it. One big difference, not really because you still have to do it here, but when students drop or withdraw from an unwanted course, they cannot just stop going to class, right? You have to tell the admissions office or the office that you are dropping the course, okay? There's deadlines for that. If you do not meet the deadline for dropping the course, you will get an F on your transcript. You can't just stop going to the class, okay? You must officially withdraw from the course. And then not all courses are PSEO eligible. For example, classes with expensive fees, classes that are remedial, or study abroad programs are not eligible for PSEO. Okay, so what should you expect as a PSEO student? What kind of class expectations should you have? So classes are often fast-paced, and the teachers and professors have high expectations of you. Professors are the ones who set the expectations for the class, and those are communicated out with the syllabi. Therefore, it's really important to read your syllabi. Okay, that is a contract between you and the professor. That's where it will list out all of your expectations. Classes may have fewer tests, but your tests will count for a bigger portion of your grade. And then your reading and writing assignments may be more intense. Homework-wise, what should you expect as a PSEO student? Typically, they say that a 1-credit class, you would be in class for 1 hour per week. They would also expect you to spend 1 to 2 hours on homework per week. So for example, the English 1121 course, which is a 4-credit class, they would expect you to be in class for 4 hours that week. Right? They would also expect that you spend 4 to 8 hours per week on that class. So in total, you would be spending 8 to 12 hours per week on the 4-credit class. Okay? So let's say you choose to go full-time. That is, and you choose to do 12 credits. Okay? So they would expect you to be in class for 12 hours that week. They would expect you to do 12 to 24 hours of homework, which would equal 24 to 36 hours. Okay, that is a full-time job. Going PSEO might allow you some extra free time or wiggle time in your schedule, but it really does still take a lot of time to do well. Okay. All right, so what should you as guardians know? Because of FERPA, colleges and professors don't communicate with parents, okay? There is a signed consent form that you can submit that would allow them to have a little communication with you, but professors really, really like to communicate with the student, okay? If your student is having struggles, encourage your student to contact the professor, okay? Encourage your student to be advocating, thank you, whoever said that. So your student would need to be the one to contact professors and talk about problems or issues. Also, some colleges and professors don't take attendance, right? They may not know when your student is in the classroom. And even if they did, they probably wouldn't tell you because of what we just talked about, right? They often don't communicate with parents. So, Your student needs to be responsible for going to class on their own, and their professor isn't going to contact you if they miss 3 to 10, 15 classes, okay? We talked about the syllabus being a contract, and then each course expectation is different because it is set by the professors. So make sure that you're reading each one and really understanding what the class will entail. All right, so the PSEO admission process. Each college sets their own requirements, okay? So be sure to check the college that you are interested in. That goes the same for deadlines. Make sure you're researching the college that you're interested in so you know their deadlines and their process. So a general guideline set forth by the Minnesota colleges is that juniors must be in the top third of their class or in the 70th percentile on a nationally standardized norm referenced test. So that's like the PSEO or the ACT. Juniors must be in the top half of their class or score in the 50th percentile or higher on the same test. Some colleges do allow students to be eligible based on GPA. And again, this is just a general guideline. Not all colleges follow that, so make sure you are checking with your college. So high school sophomores, you don't need to meet that 70th percentile, top third of your class. You would be expected to have met or exceeded your 8th grade reading MCAs. Okay? And then keep in mind that it is only the technical education courses that you would be taking, and you would take 1 the first semester and then up to 3 for the second semester. So the process at PACT for applying for PSEO is really to start at your college and apply online for their PSEO program. Then what you would do is you would need to request transcripts from me. That is another form that you picked up on the table, and you'll see an example of it here in a minute. So you'd fill out the transcript, and then you would fill out the 3-part PSEO notice of student registration. This form needs to be completed every semester you are a PSEO student. Okay? So if you start your junior year, you would need to fill out 2 for your junior year and 2 for your senior year. 1 before fall semester, 1 before spring semester. All right, and then another form is the PSEO intent form. That form needs to be turned back into PACT every year by May 30th. So if you are a sophomore thinking about doing PSEO next year as a junior, this form would need to be turned in this year by May 30th and then next year by May 30th, okay, both years. And then once you have your classes scheduled, you would need to give me a copy. All right, so how do you stay connected with people and things at PACT? One of the important parts is checking your school email. That is how I will communicate with you about any of the upcoming events and activities. This is especially important if you are a PSEO student as a senior, as that is how we communicate out graduation, deadlines, and activities. We have a number of social media options, so you can like us or friend us or follow us on any of those. And then you can contact the school with any questions or concerns. And then meet with me at least once a year so you know what your requirements are and you can get an updated sense of where you're at for graduation. All right, so let's take a minute to go over some of these forms that we talked about. The first one here is the transcript request form. That is this form, and it is sent to me, so you complete it and you hand it in to Mrs. Kovitz. You put your name here. You can fill out your address, your graduation year, any of this top information. And then down here where it says send to college institution, that is where you list the college that you want to attend. Okay? So if you decide to apply to 2 different colleges, you can put them both on here. Request 1, request 2. Okay? And then down here at the bottom is where you would sign and date it. This is the student signature, They are giving me permission to send their information to the colleges. Okay? So, apply online, complete this form. And then you will also need to complete the 3-part form. So that's the one that looks like this. Parents and students are responsible for completing part 1 of this form. So just this part up here. And then the student brings it in to me. I complete part 2, and then the student mails it into their college. Okay? So complete part 1, bring it in to me, I'll complete it, and I'll give it back to the student to mail in. And then the last form that you need to complete to turn in is the PSEO intent form. That one looks like this. There are a number of different things you need to sign off on, saying that you've read through and understand what it will take to be PSEO. On the back, there's a policy you need to sign, both student and parent. Down here, you have to list the requirements you still need to take in high school to graduate. So this part can be a little tricky. Students can come see me and I can help them fill that part out, or they can use their transcript. And again, this is the back side that just needs to be signed after you read through it. Okay, so in a minute we have Abby from ARCC here to talk to us a little bit. But before she comes up here, do you have any questions about PACT or PSEO, the process?
So if they're full-time, it's going to require upwards of 36 hours a week. But that translates to 3 credits. Is that enough to graduate?
So if you take it every year, it would be yes and no. I mean, it depends on what classes they've already taken. For the most part, it would be fine. But it really just depends on what your students already taken. But yes, it would technically usually be enough to graduate.
The 6 they get over 2 years.
What's that?
If they were full-time, they did 6 credits over 2 years. That'd be enough.
So that would be per semester. So they would take 3 for one semester and then 3 for the next semester.
How does PSEO athletic eligibility?
So students would still be eligible. So PSEO classes are NCAA approved most of the time, so as long as they're taking those classes, they would still be eligible to participate. Obviously, they would still need to meet GPA and other types of those requirements, but for the most part, they would be eligible just like any other student.
How do you know where you fall in the percentile
For class rank, that is on your transcript, or it is also information that I can provide you. So if you or your student aren't sure, just feel free to contact me.
And then how do you know about the ACT tests and that type of thing? What are they typically given?
So the PSAT is typically given in 10th or 11th grade, and registrations for those are usually the May before. So if you are going to be a 10th grader next year, this May you would be getting a notice about PSAT testing. ACT testing, we offer ACT testing here. Usually in the springtime. This year we're offering it March 24th, and that's for juniors or seniors.
Okay.
Say.
How does that help if you're wanting to get it in your junior year, if you're not taking that test until your junior year?
So I would recommend that you do the PSAT then if you're looking to go as a junior. That's why a lot of colleges accept that, so you don't have to take the ACT. But 10th graders can take the ACT at other locations. It's just not offered to them here. Any other questions? All right. You're on the spot, Abby.
Well, I'm pretty sure, because when you see my presentation, I'll be skipping past a lot of slides because they're very similar, so mine will be quick.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Abby. I'm the Director of K-12 Partnerships in Anoka Ramsey, which means that I work with our high school students, so our PSEO students, but then also we do some programming where we offer some classes at high schools with certain teachers. So I'll talk about PSEO specifically. Please let me know if you can't hear me. It's hard for me to like tether myself right here. But like I said, I will probably go relatively fast simply because you'll see why. So these are all very similar. I apologize if that's blue on blue. The only one that I want to talk about on this one that really she hadn't covered already is the clubs and activities. So PSEO students are infused in our student body. PSEO right now is about 1,400 students at Anoka Ramsey between Cambridge and Coon Rapids, and the bulk are down here in the Coon Rapids campus. So over about 900 students down here, and most of them, probably about 500 or so, are coming from roughly this area, so they're within the Anoka-Hennepin district. And because they are so large as far as population goes, and you all have very similar like high school graduation requirements, most of the courses that students are going to be taking, especially if they're knocking off the high school graduation requirements, are going to be, they're not going to, certainly won't be the only one in their class, and probably are going to be the majority of students in their class are going to be PSEO, especially when we get into classes like US history, world history, like econ, government. If you have those requirements your senior or junior year, those are going to be heavy, like honestly 80 to 90% PSEO students in those classes. And the same goes for all of our student services. So PSEO students are able to do everything else that a general student who's already graduated high school can. Really the only thing they don't have access to is, so like you were mentioning NCAA. So we have an NJCAA, Division III athletics. Students can't participate in that while they're still in high school. The other thing is financial aid. So everything's paid for, so there really isn't a need for financial aid at this point. But those are really the only two things. So our PSEO students are part of our theater programs, our different clubs and activities on campus, student government, really anything that we do on campus. Students have the ability to participate in, and that goes for, like we have a beautiful new wellness center. Well, I shouldn't say new, I've worked here long enough that it's new, but it was like 6 years old. Relatively new and very high end for what most community colleges have. We have 2 big gyms, 2 workout facility areas, a walking track, and really wide hours. So like during the school year, it's open from 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night during the week. And that's all open to students, and that's all free to students. So we really encourage our students to get involved in any way that they can. So for us, I'll throw these up here and then I'll talk through them. So 2 of these are going to be the same as what you've seen. So for most of the colleges have adopted GPA cuts as well, because class rank's just kind of slipping away in a lot of our schools. So for juniors, we do the same things that she'd mentioned. So the top third of your class rank, 70th% on a national test, so like the PSEO would work. Or we will take a 3.5 GPA. Seniors gets a little bit easier, we will do a 3.0. We are currently reviewing our policy because we are a little on the high end for the area as far as what all the other colleges expect. And so that's up for review, and it should honestly be finished in the next couple of weeks. So you may see our GPAs drop a little bit. We're proposing to drop them a 0.5. I mean, we never know, things could happen and it might not happen, but just so you know, we're looking at dropping the junior requirement to a 3.0 and the senior requirement to a 2.5. And then sophomores, like she mentioned, is kind of a different beast. So it's really only career and technical courses that students can take, and we'd already mentioned those. Any questions on eligibility? And again, this is unique to Anoka Ramsey. All the technical community colleges, we're all a little bit different. So be sure to investigate the school that you want to go to, because what we said for GPA at least is not across the board. And we already talked about that. You touched on a lot of this. I don't know that there's a lot I'm going to go into. So FERPA that you'd mentioned is a federal law that says that once a student starts an academic record with a college, that record is the student's alone regardless of age. So that is part of why parents really can't get much information from us. I can talk in hypotheticals all day long, but I really can't give specific student information. There is a small consent form, but I'll be honest, it doesn't give a whole lot. It allows me to tell a parent, or whoever the student says I can tell, what classes they're registered for and final grades at the end of the semester. But like she mentioned, most of what our parents want to know is what's happening within the semester, and that's really just between the student and the teacher. There is an online service we call D2L, it's Desire to Learn. It's our online learning tool. So students would have access to where their instructors can post grades along the way. But I'll be honest, we just don't, as you mentioned, we don't grade as often, so there's not as many opportunities for feedback and for grading. So that can sometimes be a challenge for our students. So it's really important that if you as a student in here want to do PSEO, you have the ability to go up and ask the question of anyone, whether that's your teacher, your advisor that you'll meet with, me, your counselors back here. As long as you have the ability to go and ask people, that will get you pretty far with us. It's really the students that sit back and are afraid to ask questions. Those are the students that struggle when they move on to PSEO with us. You'd mentioned homework versus class time, so a lot of this is similar. One of the big things, and I don't know that you guys do it here as much as some of our other schools, the due dates are very firm once you hit the college level, and I don't mean for like you applying to the college, those are also firm, but as far as what's happening in the classroom, a lot of our schools are starting to tend to opportunities for students to earn credit if they missed something or relearn something and take a test again, whatever that is. At the college, that really doesn't happen. A due date is firm. Outside of some extreme extenuating circumstances, everything's going to be due at the time that it was explicitly stated in that syllabus. And our instructors aren't that good about like reminding you. So it's really on the student to keep track of things. It's going to be the biggest change for them when they come to us. But I will not harp on those because you did a lot of that, so I'm not going to go too much. But it's never about how smart a student is when they're coming in. It's the two things that are listed first there. So are you willing to ask questions and advocate for yourself when you need something? And how do you manage your time? We get a lot of students, so like we said, you know, for a full-time student with us, they're only taking between 12 and 15 credits a semester. That's only 12 to 15 hours a week that they are physically in our classes. That's a lot of extra time in your week. And we mentioned how much time it can take to be successful. That's really hard for students to wrap their heads around, especially like a first semester or year. I'm a perfect example of this. When I was in high school, I was a very strong student. My first semester of college in a state that did not have PSEO was a 2.66 because I tried to do the exact same things I did in high school, which was like doing my work in other classes, anytime I had free time, maybe a little bit of after school, and do that in my college courses, and it backfired. Like my chemistry exam that I went to the first time, I'd looked at the textbook and I'd read it, but I didn't know it. I hadn't read through it multiple times to make sure that the information sticks. Because one of the big changes high school to college is, you know, everyone here feels like it's their personal job to make sure each of their students is successful in getting through things. When you move on to the college, we definitely want you to be successful, but we don't feel like that's our job. That's not our responsibility to make you successful. We're here to help make it easier in any way we can, but it's really on you as the student. So that's one of the big shifts that we see with students. College transcripts do stick with you kind of forever. So we want to make sure that students understand that the transcript they start as a PSEO student looks identical to that of a student who's already graduated from high school. There's no difference. It's impacting everything that goes forward in the same way. So it's just important to know that it's not like test college. And then, do you guys weight our process? So we do see that students' GPA in general, like so if you're a 3.5 student here, on average, when the students come to us, we see their GPAs drop about a 0.5. So you might have a 3.0 your first semester with no grades. It's not every student, but it's kind of an average. So it could be hard when they come back to the high school because those grades transfer back. You guys do weight the classes, but I think probably there is still a little bit of a dip for some students. Just things to keep in mind. You mentioned it earlier, but yeah, there's only a handful of courses that aren't covered. So they're anything that's pre-college level, and then anything that sounds really fun and takes you off campus is also not covered. And then we have two competitive programs. So we do nursing and physical therapy assistant. Those are programs that students have to do a lot of work to get into, and then once they're in it, they have clinicals and a lot of hands-on work. And so they're not able to start the program and do the hands-on clinicals until they've graduated high school. But both of those programs, if students are interested, there are a number of general courses that are required before you can even apply for those programs, like English, psychology, biology, those kind of courses. Those can all be taken through the PSEO program. And then the little bottom note down there is just that if a student wants to repeat a course and they earned a D or higher, that course would be out of pocket for them to repeat. The state only pays for students to do it once. I already talked about that. I'll do this pretty briefly. So the biggest question we get is about transfer. So how do these credits go with me? I think people are nervous about a community college, but we have the exact same accreditation that the University of Minnesota does. So the credits transfer very easily. You really don't have a problem with it unless you go and take something really obscure like, well, even classical, I probably still would transfer as an art credit, but like history of the Vietnam War, and expect that to count as like your standard US history course, either here or when you transfer to another university. And so we do some packages to make things a little bit easier. One of those is called the Minnesota Transfer Curriculum. So it's not a degree, it's just a curriculum of courses. And what's nice is like, so the AP courses you guys run here can slide right in and can fit and help complete part of this. But so what happens is if you complete this package while you're with us, which if you come as your junior and senior year, even if you're doing part-time, it's still manageable to complete this. It would
Transfer?
this go. I don't know for a second. Okay. This would then transfer to any of the Minnesota state colleges or universities, so the 7 state universities, any of the University of Minnesota schools, and then we have a couple private partners like I believe Hamlin and Augsburg will take this curriculum. So what's nice about this is once you're done with it, then you've completed all of your lower level general education credits for whatever your bachelor's degree is at those schools. I do like to put a little caveat with this one. If you're interested in something STEM focused, doing a lot of general education right off the bat is not beneficial for students. We want to balance those heavy core biology, chemistry, calculus courses with some of those generals. So what we really have students do is once they've met with their counselor here, when they come to orientation on campus, they meet with an advisor, and we really would prefer to just craft a plan specific to the student about where they want to go, what degree they want to do. If it fits in this pretty package, great. Otherwise, we'll just work with students individually to make sure things will transfer. I don't really want to talk about this one. We also have some transfer pathways, so bigger degrees that can transfer. That's for another time. Now we'll just move into like the nitty gritty of how to apply to us. And it's going to be really similar to any of the Minnesota state schools. You guys have already kind of started doing this, but register like PSEO does not exist at your high school. We've heard from most of our high schools that it's easier to, once you've registered with us, for you to bring your schedule back to your counselor and they can pluck you out of anything here at the high school. But it can be more challenging if you're just like, yeah, I'm not coming back here next year. And then you needed to pick up a course from the high school. It's harder for your counselors and staff here to get you into classes last minute here. So plan is if PSEO doesn't exist, and then once you've registered, you can change your schedule back at your high school. And then our dates, so we recommend that most students apply and get all their stuff into us by April 15th. We will accept things until July 1st, but I'll be really honest with you, if you come to us at that point, the course selection is going to be pretty rough. And then if you wanted to start halfway through the year, you can, although again, it gets really fun with schedules like you mentioned with the trimesters. We have a slightly different schedule than the high school does. So then for the actual application, what you would do is apply online. And there's a common application with all the Minnesota state schools. So if you create an application with us and also want to apply to like North Hennepin, you'll log in with your exact same username and password you created for us, add some extra information, and then you can send it off to North Hennepin. But so the online application, and then we typically need just 2 things usually for our students here. One's going to be your high school transcript, and the other is going to be that 3-part form that she had up here. If we need it, we can take something like the PSAT, but oftentimes we don't. And then after you're admitted, students have to take placement testing or submit ACT scores. That's really the only thing that can kind of wipe out the need to take our placement test. So students do take it in reading and math. There's a bunch of prep material on our website. You could take sample tests. And then we offer, down here in Coon Rapids, it's mostly walk-in schedule testing now, but you can always check our schedule online. If you guys grab that little half sheet, there should be a direct link to the testing website as well. And then for those of you that are going into your senior year, which I'm guessing there aren't that many here of you, we can use your ACT scores. So if you guys are testing in late March, you'll probably have those back by mid to late April. So you can use those in place of taking our test if you want. Then the last thing is an orientation and registration session. So this is required for all PSEO students. So they'll come on campus, we'll talk to them for like an hour, and then we'll have them break out and meet in small pods with their academic advisor, and we'll help make sure they get everything registered for their first semester. What's nice is if students want to do deeper planning than what we do in that kind of chaotic day, they are welcome. We're here all summer long, we don't take a break, so you are welcome to come and set up a follow-up appointment with us to do some deeper planning with you and your student. We'll start running these in late April, so that's why we have that April 15th deadline, or priority date. We will run them throughout the summer, but my best advice is register with us sometime in April or May, because that will give you the best chance of getting the courses you want, times that you want, and your counseling team is still here, so they can let you know, yes, that works for your high school grad requirements. Other than that, I think that's pretty much everything. If you guys have questions for us, you can go to our website. Otherwise, if you ever want to email in documentation or questions, you can send it to that email address for us specifically. I know I'm kind of fast, but do you guys have any questions for me? Or more in general that have popped up? Yeah.
Hosting classes and registering classes is there any issue for students not being able to get the classes that they
So we asked if there was issues about being lower on the totem pole. So as a two-year community college, we don't have students that are like stacked up and ready to go. We have students that are maybe on their second year, and so they're not that intense about their classes, so no, it's not really an issue. So PSEO students that are returning have fourth day priority. Honestly, in 3 or 4 days, very few classes have filled. Once students are new though, they do have to come to an orientation before, so it does push them back a little bit, but still honestly, in April and May, the availability of courses is pretty decent. So no, we haven't seen it that much. When we see students come to us in June or July, yeah, that's where they have a harder time. But PSEO, with our college, we let them register pretty early. So it hasn't been an issue for us. I will say, like for the U of M, they don't register until like mid-August. So for the students that get into the U, they have a hard time getting courses, but we are pretty early. Other questions?
Right, well, I wanted to just thank all of our presenters today. It's been wonderful having you guys here. I will open it up for a few questions, and then we have a huge student panel here tonight. We were just going to have a couple more, but we'll see how many questions Ms. Easley can answer for us. So she's really here to answer like how the process has been for her. If you have any specific questions about how classes go or anything that a student would know about PSEO, she's going to be kind of our guru for the night.
She's also taken AP, so she knows what that's like too.
Yes. So she's taking AP too. But before we move on, do you guys have any questions regarding STEP, AP, or the PSEO process?
Do you have a limit on how many PACT allows to be in the program?
For PSEO or for STEP? Nope, there's no limit. If you qualify, PACT lets you go. No, STEP does not require placement testing. There are requirements if you were taking a college credit through STEP. So those would have eligibility requirements, kind of like a PSEO class would. But those are specific to STEP, and they would be on the registration forms. So information about that can be coming.
software is where all our education classes we do, which specifically what those are, or is there a list of those that can send those down through?
Yep, so on the college website, so every college gets to decide what they offer at 10th grade. So on the college website, they often have a list of those. But oftentimes, it's not like your English Comp 101 class. It's going to be like medical terminology or office assistant kind of stuff. Do you have any specific ones that you can?
Yeah, no, we have some business, we have some health, but yeah, there's nothing that would satisfy general education, and we don't have that many offerings, so like, I know Tech has a lot more that students can tap into.
Yeah. So none of like the core classes, but a lot of the elective business health, PE. And again, go to their website because they would have a lot more information about it. Any other questions? All right. Did you just want to come over here since you're the Lone Ranger? All right. So thank you.
Hi. Oh my God. Okay. Hi, my name is Lily, and I started PSEO this year. And if you have any questions about like taking PSEO classes and sports or clubs like NHS or student council or theater, or if you have questions on online classes, I can help with that. I can start with online classes. So my first semester, I was a little unsure about online classes because it's like, what do you do? How can you take math online? So I started with an English class because it seemed pretty easy. And so I took that class, and while they have discussion posts and they post things every week to update you. So they might say, there's a paper due this day, or there's an assignment due this day, but it's your job to keep up with that. The first week, they will give you a syllabus, and they have, again, D2L, so everything is updated on there. So if you lose your syllabus, you can always print it. But always keep your syllabus because it helps you with due dates and what to do and where to get it. I go to Anoka Ramsey, and one of my favorite things about that is that there are couches and chairs everywhere, so you can do your homework anywhere. You can sit by a table by this like really cool artwork thing that I see, and you can also do your homework outside. And everything there is free, so library, book, everything is free. Also, printing, because you print a lot in college, whether it's assignments or just things you do. So everything there is free, and yeah. Any questions?
I have one.
Okay.
How many classes are you taking?
I am taking 6 right now. Usually people take like 4. How do I feel about that?
Yeah.
If you're gonna take a lot of classes, I suggest you find time, because sometimes it's hard for me to do homework, but I just kind of like, I'm trying to keep up with credits because I'm trying to get my AA, so that's like 60 credits after 2 years for me, so that's what I'm taking a lot.
Are you on campus completely? Are you doing partial online and partial on the campus? What is your situation?
I'm full-time, but I have 3 classes. One of them is a hybrid class, so it's online, but it's also face-to-face. So I meet once a week with my teacher, and that's on Thursdays. Any more questions? Thank you.
All right, again, thank you to all of our presenters, and thank you guys for coming out tonight.
Does anybody have the step form that they're not going to be using, the one that moves this way? Because there's a couple of us that did not get it.
So the STEP forms, if you're not going to be interested in STEP, you can go ahead and put it back up here along with that green booklet. Otherwise, more of that will be coming from STEP, so I can get that out to you as soon as STEP has it to me. But thank you all for coming tonight, and if any of your questions weren't answered, feel free to either email me or set up a meeting. Thank you.